It's not that the entire Maya lowlands is abandoned overnight. It's that, one kingdom falls here and another one 10 years later falls over here, then another one over here.
The causes of the Maya collapse remains a great debate among scholars. We're really talking about a society that was pushing itself to the limits.
There is no one single explanation for this implosion, but scholars seem to believe that environmental catastrophe led to a full-blown meltdown for the Maya civilization. The soil no longer produced crops, thus lack of food and polluted water produced malnutrition and disease. The Maya could no longer count on their kings to intercede with their gods because their great society was in a death spiral, and their kings, so long counted on for guidance and prosperity, were powerless to stop it. So sadly, but slowly and surely, the people voted with their feet, and the ancient Maya left their beautiful cities forever.
There were no signs of mass graves. They did not vanish. Where did the millions of Maya go?
If you wanted to go where it was happening, you moved north. Go north, young man.
The cities that die in the south, and that's the only way to describe it, is they just go into oblivion, are never really replaced. But there are locations all around the Yucatan Peninsula where the cities not only thrive, but they begin to grow explosively.
This growth was enhanced by an elaborate network of causeways called sacbes, or white roads.
The sacbes weren't just local transport. They were emblems of the great political power of two allied cities that had the wherewithal to create this magnificent royal procession way between their two kingdoms.
As much as 60 miles long in some places, they were a marvel of engineering.
They would place huge rocks on both sides of the causeway and then fill in whatever was in between with cobbles and unfinished rocks and stones, and then they covered all this surface with stucco. Nice plaster, and then upon it, they created this smooth surface.
In the Yucatan Peninsula, the sacbes often charted a course through the rough terrain in perfectly straight lines.
It's not easy to cut a line 60 miles that doesn't deviate even a degree. I would really like to know what instruments they use. We have no record of it.
These causeway systems allowed for rebirth, movement, and trade in the north. And it is there that the ragged survivors of the southern lowlands hope to find a second chance, in a Yucatan city called Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza came to be the largest and most powerful city from about 800 to 1050 or so that had a real knack of being a big tent. So it was a very cosmopolitan place, and I'm sure it traded handsomely on that reputation.
One of the buildings unique to the site was El Caracol, an astronomical observatory. The Maya were obsessed with both time and the stars and spent centuries looking to the sky for answers.
The Maya probably had something called a gnomon, which is a series of two crossed bars, and by looking at the intersection of those two bars, they would be able to focus on something.
With just basic tools, the Maya were able to track the movement of the stars and planets and the passing of time.
Like Stonehenge, this was a place where people could make solar and lunar observations.
The staircase in the front of the building faced 27.5 degrees northwest, out of line with other structures, but in almost perfect alignment with Venus's most northerly position in the sky. It was closely aligned with the celestial bodies and occurrences, such as the movement of Venus and the solstices. In the higher tower of the building, 3 openings survive today. They are small, narrow, and irregularly placed, but they align along astronomical sight lines.
In the Caracol, we can see in its orientations, in its peculiar displacements, in its odd alignment of buildings, a focus on what Venus was doing at the time. Venus is a kind of variable actor up there in the skies. Sometimes it moves in this direction, sometimes it moves in that direction. The Caracol seems to be about looking at Venus when it's come to the end of a certain kind of motion.
This This astute astronomical observation allowed the Maya to build their interlocking calendars that were more accurate than any other used in the ancient world.
The Maya had two calendars, one ritual and then, the solar calendar that is very, very similar to what we use in the Western world.
The Maya measured the solar year to be 365 days. Their measurements for the revolution of Venus and the occurrence of lunar eclipses were equally on target. In just 200 years, the Maya had achieved a rebirth in the wake of the catastrophic destruction of their southern cities. But now the North would face an even deadlier enemy, one that was capable of annihilating the Maya while leaving their cities intact.
Chichen Itza is renowned for its well of sacrifice. It is said that humans and precious objects were tossed into the sinkhole as offerings to the rain god Chak.
In the 9th century, the classic Maya cities suddenly and mysteriously collapsed, ending the era of greatest prosperity and growth. Rebirth in the north gave the Maya an opportunity to combine astronomy and engineering on an unprecedented scale. At Chichen Itza, signs of continuing obsession with the skies left a permanent mark on Maya architecture. The cornerstone of Chichen Itza was the 98-foot El Castillo, or the castle, built in the 9th or 10th century. The 365 steps equal the number of days in the Maya civil calendar. 52 panels on each side represented the Maya's 52-year cycle. 9 terraced levels equaled the 18-month Maya solar calendar. And the temple's axis was perfectly aligned so that specific shadows were cast twice a year.
For any Maya standing and looking at the northwestern sector of the Castillo, they would see a balustrade and then a combination of shadows and the sun hitting that part just before sunset. And then several triangles form. And then at the very bottom of this balustrade, you have a nice carved serpent head, a snake coming down from heaven. And that is indicating the arrival of the rainy season.